The last major category of equipment that I want to talk to you about is the time domain reflectometer, or TDR. The TDR is kind of like a cable radar system, and then it sends a pulse down the telephone line and, based upon energy reflected back, is able to indicate increases and decreases in line resistance, capacitance, and inductance, and pinpoint the distance to where the changes took place. Other than perhaps telling a TSCM service provider the location of a series wiretap, the TDR is used more to tell where the changes have been made to the telephone line, which can be very useful in leading the TSCM service provider to the next point down the telephone line that should be tested or examined. The most popular TDR on today's market is manufactured by Rise or Bond, but for many years Tektronix led this field. The price range for the TDR is in the $2,000 to $5,000 range. It is a very important piece of equipment for the TSCM technician to have. Now that we've talked about the basic areas of TSCM equipment, I'd like to turn our attention to a few other miscellaneous pieces of equipment that I think can be a tremendous aid to the TSCM service provider. The first deals with infrared thermography. The basic premise behind this technology is that powered and active electronic listening devices create an infrared heat signature as electricity powers their circuitry. Perhaps the most popular infrared thermography cameras are available through Raytheon, Monroe Infrared, and SPI Infrared. These cameras sell in the price range of $10,000 to $20,000. The limitation on infrared thermography is it can only detect devices that are working at the time of its use. In other words, if the battery's devices are dead, then there won't be any heat to detect. Again, this is why a nonlinear junction detector is so important for a TSCM team to use. You'll also find that a good TSCM service provider will use a wide variety of TSCM amplifiers such as a CMA 100 made by REI, as well as fiber optic borescopes, which allows a TSCM technician to look inside of walls from access points such as electrical outlets and phone plugs. By the way, if you add up everything we've talked about in this chapter, you will soon realize that it can be extremely easy for a TSCM service provider to spend well in excess of $200,000 in equipment. And many of the larger TSCM service providers will have multiple radio receivers, nonlinear junction detectors, etc. Okay, there's one more thing I'd like to talk about in this chapter, and that's the manual physical search portion of a TSCM inspection. The manual physical search is the most time-consuming portion of a TSCM sweep. The clip on your screen demonstrates in very sped-up motion 3 TSCM technicians physically searching the corner sitting area of a large office. The physical search by these 3 technicians actually took 40 minutes or 2 man-hours. Depending on the room's construction and the amount of furniture and other objects in the room, a physical search can take anywhere from 3 to 15 man-hours, maybe even more. It's important that you understand that TSCM equipment is only an aid, and that many eavesdropping devices have been discovered through the physical search portion of a sweep. Of course, the person doing the searches really needs to know what he or she is looking for, but I'll talk more about training in the next chapter. Also, physical searches can make a real mess, so I guess there's one more piece of equipment we need to add to this list: a good vacuum cleaner. Okay, that wraps it up for this chapter, and I hope I've shared some knowledge with you that will really be helpful. In the next chapter, I'll be discussing how to retain a TSCM service provider and giving you some insight into the price ranges, amount of time to complete a TSCM sweep, and discuss some of the issues regarding TSCM training. I'll see you there.